Hi viewers, today I will discuss with you history of the United States. The history of the United States began with the arrival of Native Americans in North America around 15,000 numerous indigenous, indigenous cultures formed and many saw transformations in the 16th century away from more densely populated lifestyle and towards the organized politics elsewhere. The arrival of Western farmers in 1492 started the Europeans' colonization of the Americans. Most colonies were formed after 1600, and the United States was the first nation whose most distant regions are fully recorded by the 1760. The 13 British colonies contains millions of people and were established along the Atlantic coast east of the Apennine Mountains after defeating France, and the British government imposed a series of taxes, including the Stamp Act of 17 1765, rejecting the colonial system consistently the argument that new taxes need their approval resistance to their taxes, especially the Boston Tea Party in 1737, led to Parliament issues punitive laws designed and self-government army conflict began in Massachusetts in 1775. In 1776, in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress declared the independence of the colony as the United States, led by General Gorgeous Western. It won the Revolutionary War. The Peace Treaty of 1783 established the border of the new nation. The Article of Confederation established a central government, but it was infi- infactual at providing stability as it not collect taxes and had no executive officer. A convention wrote a new constitution that was adopted in 1789, and a Bill of Rights was added in 1791 to guarantee in a, in a, inalienable right with Clifton as the first president and Alexander Hamilton, his chief advisor. A strong central government was created. Purchase of Alexandria Territory from France in 1803, dubbed the size of the United States, encouraged, encouraged by the nation manifest density. The United States expanded to the Pacific coast. While the nation was large in terms of area, its population in 1719 was only 4 million. The population grew rapidly and economic growth was even rather compared to European over the nation's military strength was relatively limited in peacetime before 1940. West- Westward expansion was driven by a quest for inexpensive land for human farmer and slave owners. The expansion of slavery was increasing controlization and include political and constitution battle which were resolved by premises. Slavery was abolished, abolished in all states. Battle which was resolved by compo- compromising salary was abolished in all states north of the they resolved by compromising salary abolished in all states north of the Mason-Dixon line by 1804, but the South continued the institution mostly for the production of cotton. Abraham Lincoln was created president in 1860 on a platform of halting the expansion of slavery. Seven southern slave states rebuilt and created the foundation of the Confederacy. Its 1861 attack on a federal fort started a civil war. The defeat of the Confederates in 1865 led to the abolition of slavery in the Reconstruction era. Following the war, legal and voting rights were extended to free protect in individual rights. However, when white Southerners regained their power in the South in 1877, often by paramilitary suppression of voting, the pursuit is improved law that maintain white supremacy as well as new disintegration state constitution that prevents most Africans, Americans, and many poor whites from voting. The United States become world leading imperial power at the turn of the 20th century due to an outburst of independence, industrialization, and the arrival of millions of immigrants, workers, and farmers. A national railroad network was completed, and large-scale mines and factories were established. Mass dissatisfaction with corruption, infancy, and traditional politics stimulated and progressive movement from the 1890s century to the 1920th century, leading the reform including the federal income tax, direct election of senators, granting of citizenship to many Indian, in, indigenous people, alcohol, prohibition, and women suffrage inevitably natural during World War One and United States declared war on Germany in 1917 and funded the Allied victories. The following states declared war on Germany in 1917 and funded the Allied victory the following year. After the prosperous during 20s, the war street crest of 1929 marked the onset of the disabled worldwide Great Depression. The present the resolved implemented his New Deal programs, including relief from the unemployed, support for farmers, social security, and a minimum wage. The New Deal defined modern Americans' civism following the Japanese attacks on Pearl Harbor, the defeat Nazi Germany, and Brazil, Italy in the European theater. Its involvement culminated in using newly American invented nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to defeat Imperial Japan in the Pacific War. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as rival superpowers in the aftermath of World War II. During the Cold War, the two countries confronted each other indirectly in the arms race, the space race, propaganda campaign, and localized wars against communist expansion in the 1916th century, in large part due to the strength of the civil rights movements and other ways of social reform was enacted which enforced the constitution, right of voting, and freedom of movements to African Americans and other racial minorities. The Cold War ended when the Soviet Union was officially dissolved, leaving the United States as the world's sole superpower. Foreign policy after the Cold War has often focused to modern conflict- conflicts in the Middle East, especially in response to the September 11 attacks and the rise of the Islamic State. Early in the 21st century, the United States ex- experienced the Great Recession and later the COVID-19 pandemic, which had a negative effect on the local economy. Contents number one, prehistory 1.1, Polio Indians 1.2, mound builders and powerball throws 1.3, northwest and northeast 1.4, native aliens 1.5, nurse exploration number two, European colonization 2.1, first settlements 2.1.1, Spanish contact 2.1.2, ducks mid-Atlantic and 1.3, Swedish settlements 2.4, French and Spanish conflict 2.2, British colonies 2.2.1, first settlements in Jamestown 2.2.2, New England 2.2.3, middle colonies 2.2.4, southern colonies 2.2.5, region 2.2.6, government 2.2.7, servitude and slavery. Number three, road to independence 3.1, political integration and autonomy 3.2, taxation with concentration. Number four, revolution and independence 4.1, George Wisdom 4.2, Wales and Britain 4.3, Declaration of Independence. Number five, early years of the Republic 5.1, Confederation and Constitution 5.2, present Gloria Wisdom. Number eight, growth and industrialization 8.1, frontier and the railroad 8.1.1, Indian wars 8.2, Gilded Age 8.3, Pluralism 9, this content and reform 9.1, progressive era 9.2, women's suffrage 10, war, prosperity and depression 10.1 World War One, 10.2 during 2020s, 10.3 Great Depression and the New Deal, 10.4 World War Two, number 11 football, contract agriculture and civil rights, 11.1 Cold War, 11.2 Great Society, 11.3 Civil Rights Movement, 11.4 Women Liberation, 11.5 Country Culture and Cold War Detent, 11.6 Rise and Conservatism in the End of the Cold War, number 12, 21st century, 12.1 9 by 11 and 9 and 11 and the war on terror, 12 went through great recession, 12.3 recent events, number 13 see also, number 14 notes, number 15 references, 15.1 surveys, 15.2 further reading, 15.3 primary resources, number 16 external links, prehistory. It is not definitely now or when Native Americans first settled the Americas and the present day United States. The prevailing theory proposes that people from Eurasia followed games across Virginia or land right that connected Siberia to present day Alaska during the Ice Age, and the spread southward throughout the Americas. The migration may have begun as early as 13,000 years ago and continued through to about 10,000 years ago when the land bride became submerged by the rising sea level caused by the melting glaciers. These early inhabitants called Paleo-Indians soon developed into hundreds of culturally distinct nations and tribes. This pre-Columbian era incorporates all periods in the history of the Americas before the appearance of European influences on the American continued spanning from the original settlements in the upper Paleolithic
Prior to European colonization during the early modern period, while the term technically referred to the era before Christopher Columbus voyage in 1492, in practice, the time usually includes the history of American indigenous cultures until they were conquered as military territory, including the Europeans. When it this happened decades of centuries after Paleo Indians. By 10,000 humans were relatively well established throughout North America. Originally, Paleo India trade ice age megafauna like nodes, but as the began and as the began of food sources as time went on, frogging for preparing and seeds become an important alternatives to hunting. Paleo Indians in central Mexico were the first in the Americas to farm starting is planned on that will earn fellow Indians in central Mexico were the first in the Americas to farm, starting to plant corn, beans, and square around 88,000. Actually, eventually, they the now began to spread northward by 18,000 BC. One of the earlier culture in the present day United States was the Pelvis culture, who are primarily indifferent by the use of floated spearments called native Hawaiians Hawaiians began to settle in the Hawaiian lands between the first and second centuries around 12,000, 1230. Hurricanes explorers found the began settling the areas as well. This marked the rise of the Hawaiian civilization, which would be largely separated from the rest of the world until the arrival of the British 600 years later. Europeans under the British explorer James Jones arrived in the Hawaiian Islands in 1789 or the Norse exploration. The further list recording Europeans' mention of America is the historical treatise by the medieval consider Adam of Bremen, Risa, Sirsan, 1075, where it is referred to as Ginland. It is also extensively referred to in the 13th century. Nose Finland says which relate to events which occurred around 100, whilst the strongest archaeological evidence of the existence of noise settlements in America is located in Canada, most notably, and the dated of Sirsa 100 there in significant scholarly debate and debate as to whether noise explorer also made landfall in New Zealand and other East Coast areas. In 1925, President Calvin's colleagues declared that the noise explorer called Leif Friscon was the first European of discover America. Spanish contact Spanish explorer were the first European main Europeans to reach the present day United States after Christopher Columbus expeditions beginning in 1492 established pros- processions in the Caribbean, including the modern-day U.S. territories of Puerto Rico and partly the U.S. Virgin Lands beyond months of delay. Indeed, the Florida 1513 Spanish expedition quickly reached the Appalachians, mountains, the Mississippi River, the Grand Canyon, and the Plains. In 1539, Hernando de Soto extensively explored the southeast, and a year later, Francisco Coronado explored from Arizona to central Kansas in search of gold, escaped horses from Coronado parties spread over the Great Plains, and the Plains Indians mastered horsemanship. Within a few generations. Small Spanish settlements eventually grew to become important cities such as San Antonio, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. So, friends, thanks for watching